In this week's adventure, I have for you Cathedral Valley Loop in Capitol Reef National Park, which the total loop is about 75 miles, if you see it all. I filmed this all day with Marc Guido from Grand Adventure here on YouTube. This was an all-day shoot, and you will not believe the scenery. Hi, I'm Don with Cowboy Biker Adventures, the Imperfect RV Travel and Adventure channel. And yes, Marc is nice in person as he is on YouTube. Coming from the west on Utah Route 24, I'm trying to show you where you would exit, which is at mile marker 91, about a little over 11 miles east of the visitor center. This is Harnett Road, and in just a minute you'll see why I suggest you go clockwise around this loop instead of counterclockwise. Thank you for coming along with me and Marc from Grand Adventure here on YouTube. We're in for a very scenic drive. On this video I will show you Water Well Oasis, Bentonite Hills, Lower South Desert Overlook, Upper South Desert Overlook, Cathedral Valley Campground, also Upper Cathedral Valley Overlook, and so much more. If you would like to see more scenic views from around the country, I highly recommend you check out Marc Guido's channel. It is Grand Adventure on YouTube, and I will put a link below and a link above so you can find it easily. I highly recommend a vehicle with some high clearance, and depending on the time of year, an all-wheel drive or 4x4 is recommended. But if the road conditions are right, you could get away with hardly an ordinary pickup. But don't bring your family car out here. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see everything, plan 6 to 8 hours for this trip. Here is our first challenge. We have to cross the Fremont River, and the river depth can vary based on different times of year, but most of the time it's a foot or less deep. This is why you start off this direction, so you'll know right away whether your vehicle can cross it or not. If you start the other direction, this will be the end of the drive, and if you can't cross it, you have to go back all that way. The truth of the matter is, it's estimated that less than 1% of the visitors to Capitol Reef National Park visit Cathedral Valley, even though I think it's one of the most impressive things about the park. So even though you will see a few cars along the way, there won't be many out here, which means you need to make sure you have plenty of water, plenty of food, and enough gas. Here we see our first big change where it starts showing rock formations and lots of color. Please be aware there is no potable water available along this loop. They claim there is a pit toilet at Cathedral Valley Primitive Campground, but I did not see it. While driving along this loop, you'll exit and re-enter the boundaries of Capitol Reef National Park a few times. You can camp at Cathedral Valley Primitive Campground, located about halfway along the route, or there are several places with free dispersed camping on BLM land along the road. It was such a pleasure to do this video shoot all day with Marc from Grand Adventure here on YouTube, because you see, when I was researching this lifestyle and did over 1,000 hours of research, I came across Marc's videos and I watched every one of his Grand Adventure videos. You see, his videos is what made me want to do YouTube videos. And today I learned a lot from him. I learned what video equipment I needed and little bit of how to use it. And like I said in the intro, Mark is as nice in person as he is in front of the camera. Believe it or not, we came across this guy riding a bicycle. He's a better man than I am. With all these hills in the distance, that would not be for me. This is called a water well Oasis that has an old abandoned water drilling rig. I'm assuming this was the last well it ever drilled. Here is a good view of both the old drilling rig and the bicyclists. Everything in the world's made a nest in this thing over the decades. Here's that bicycle rider one more time for the last time. If you started at the Harnett Road River crossing like we did, you'll reach the bentonite hills about 8 miles in. The soft rounded hills made of colorful layers of pebbled bentonite clay felt more like something you would see on an alien planet rather than planet Earth. Getting up close, the clay almost looks like jagged popcorn. It was formed millions of years ago during the Jurassic period from volcanic ash. The clay is safe to drive on when dry, but becomes incredibly slippery when wet. So don't attempt to do this drive if it's been raining. Here's one of the offshoot roads. I'm sorry, I do not know the name of it or where it goes. You will notice that the scenery keeps changing along this drive. Here we are entering Capital Reef National Park for the first time on this scenic drive. You will notice we go in and out of the park a couple times during this drive. Here we are pulling up to the lower South Desert Overlook. It's a quick quarter-mile walk out to the lower South Desert Overlook where you can look out over the expansive valley and spot Jailhouse Rock, Temple Rock, and Thousand Lake Mountain. Here we are entering back into the park for the second time. "12 miles down the road and you'll be at the upper South Desert Overlook, viewing the same valley but from the opposite side. The trail is only about 2/10 of a mile to the edge of the cliff for an unrestricted view." This is the Upper Cathedral Valley Overlook. We will take a short trail down to the Overlook, which gives us a view of Cathedral Valley from above. The valley is walled in fluted estrada sandstone cliffs, and the occasional monolith juts up out of the desert floor. This area is also dotted with dark green with bushy pinyon juniper trees. We have made it to the official Cathedral Valley Road, which takes us down to the Cathedral Valley floor. This is the area of the Cathedral Valley Campground. This campground marks the halfway point of the drive. This is a primitive, no-fee campground with 6 sites and a pit toilet. There is no water. Each campsite has its own picnic table and fire grate. It is first come, first served, and open year-round, though it may be inaccessible due to weather. I'd like to thank you for watching this week's episode of Cathedral Valley, filmed with Marc Guido from Grand Adventure. Remember to stick around after the credits for bonus video, where I will show you scenes from next week's video, part 2 of Cathedral Valley. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. I do have adventure videos once a week and shorts on weekends. For more information about this loop, check out the links under Show More. Also, I have a link to Marc Guido's Grand Adventure channel under Show More. Thank you for sticking around to after the credits for a bonus video. Today I have for you scenes from next week's episode from Cathedral Valley floor, up close and personal with these beautiful rock formations, including the Gypsum Sinkhole, the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Moon, and Glass Mountain. Thank you for watching this week's adventure. Please join me next week for next week's episode, which will be part 2, where I show you Cathedral Valley floor, up close and personal. So until next time, have a good one.